right, we're live.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Columbus This Week with Trevor and Eric, bringing you all the latest news that's going on in our great city of Columbus. So, how you doing, Trevor?
Oh, I'm doing fine. It's a great gray day out here Sunday.
Yeah, it finally feels like spring. And along with that comes allergies, and I have a
as opposed to yesterday felt like summer.
I did like yesterday.
So we just went from like winter to summer to spring in 3 days.
Yeah. So yesterday was pretty cool. For our listeners, we went to so the Association of the Physical Sciences. Hopefully I'm getting that right.
APS.
They had their like conference. So physical science being like physicists, and we went to a lecture that was open to the public from the guy that won I think he won the Nobel Prize, but of course he had like a team behind him. But he won the Nobel Prize for discovering, measuring gravitational waves, which was pretty cool and pretty interesting. I thought it was a pretty interesting lecture. I mean, it wasn't like very dry. He was just like, well, we did all this stuff. I could tell that guy was really, really smart.
I mean, he's like he won a Nobel Prize?
Yeah.
Question mark.
So, yeah.
But yeah, it was a good talk. It's a shame they're not. In general, organizations like that aren't more, I guess, don't make as much of an effort to reach out to the public. So it's kind of hard to find out about events like that.
Yeah.
Like, how'd you find out about it? Because I found out through you.
Man, I don't know. I think it was either Twitter or maybe the Columbus subreddit. It was one of the two. But yeah, I saw that and I was like, what is this? And then went and looked at it. It was pretty cool. But yeah, it'd be nice. Like, I mean, I get that they want to like have a conference and like they don't want to just like let everybody in and like not pay or whatever. But it'd be nice if they had like more of a lecture series. But maybe people don't show up though, I guess, too.
I think the bigger thing they struggle with, and you could kind of tell just based on this guy talking, is that they struggle like dumbing things down for the normies like us.
Yeah.
That's definitely what was happening. He kept asking like if there were any volleyball people.
Yeah, they were
room.
having at the conference center. They were having like a volleyball tournament or something. Probably high school volleyball or something.
It was like I was told there were going to be some of the volleyball people joining us.
Well, I wish you would have just said some of the public. Cause
yeah, it was kind of condescending a little bit, just a little.
Yeah, but so I could take being condescended to by somebody who won the Nobel Prize for discovering discovering of black holes merging and like actually measuring that. So like they had he mentioned in the lecture, like they have to account for like the Earth,
the
vibrations of the planet in order to make these measurements.
Yeah, he was like, you have to you have to account for the fact that things move. Like even you sitting in your chairs right now, you're probably wiggling at about like a distance of like 10 to the minus 4 meters.
Yeah, or something. So that was pretty fun. I guess we could have told our listeners about that last week, but.
Way to go, Eric.
Yeah. Well, whatever. Well, we got rid of that segment, so.
Yeah. So, anyways, let's move on to our interesting, non-Columbus stories of the week. One for each of us.
Okay.
So, I don't know if you've watched the movie King of Kong. Actually, I do.
Never heard of it.
So it's a documentary about like the world's best like Donkey Kong players.
Okay. That sounds kind of cool.
And so the guy who like. So in the movie, there's this like guy who's like a big dick, and he wears like an American flag tie, and he's just like super obnoxious, like egomaniac kind of guy. He got stripped of his title because the only person who like verified his score was found out to be cheating, and it was discovered that he was also cheating. And apparently, apparently like a ton of these guys who have these world records for these old video games, they just like completely cheated, played them on emulators and stuff.
Wow.
And they've all been lying about it this whole time. And it's like this big drama on the internet.
Jeez.
For like the 12 people who care about like who the best Donkey Kong player in the world is.
Yeah, that's kind of sad though. Like,
you should watch the documentary though. It's kind of interesting.
Is it on Netflix?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It's called King of Kong.
All right, I might see it.
But just watch it and then know that like later, the big like jerk who the movie kind of focuses around, it's him and then some other guy who's trying to beat his score.
Okay.
But like the big jerk ends up getting completely discredited.
But don't they like play though? Like. I mean, he has to be good too, right?
Yeah. No, he's like much better at the game than either of us ever will be, even if we tried. Like just savant levels of being good at the game. But also he was playing on an emulator, which plays, I guess, a little differently, enough that it might matter.
Okay. Instead of like playing at the arcade or something like that, or
yeah.
playing it like on a Nintendo. or
yeah.
something.
Yeah, I mean, typically the like contests are done like in arcades.
Yeah.
But this guy is so trusted by the community that he was, just able to
sit at home, just racking up the high score.
Well, like post, he was able to just like send a video in. Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. It sounds like a documentary that'd be fun. I just haven't really, with school and everything, wrapping up this final last 2 weeks, wrapping up all these projects and stuff. So,
oh my God, you sound like my girlfriend. Maybe OSU is just the worst.
No, OSU is great. All right, so my story was China is banning homosexual content on, is it Weibo or Weibo? Weibo, which is pretty much like a huge social media platform for microblogging and whatnot.
Yeah, it's Chinese Twitter.
Okay, so China said that it's removing homosexual content from the pop. I'm quoting the AFP, which is the Agence France Presse, which is I think like the what is it, APR? It's like the Associated Press, but for France.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So it's a newswire.
Yeah.
Okay.
So China said they will be banning homosexual content from the popular microblogging platform, prompting a storm of online protests Saturday under the hashtag #IamGay, which is a sad thing. I think that I feel like China could be doing a lot more. They could be not doing this and be a better place.
I mean, they're super into censorship. There's a guy I like vaguely follow just because his like story of I mean, he's like an MMA guy, and what he was doing was kind of interesting, going around like exposing nonsense martial arts in China. But they banned him from Weibo because I guess he was embarrassing Chinese culture because he's like showing all these traditional martial arts to mostly be garbage.
Yeah.
Now, some Chinese martial arts aren't, but like the vast majority are, right?
Yeah, sure.
So I mean, China and censorship is not a like.
Yeah.
I actually saw an interview with that guy too, where like they bring up him being censored on Weibo, and he's just like he and his managers are just like arguing, but both like 100% do not want to talk about government censorship. They're like,
why?
Well, his manager's trying to like coach him on what to say and not, and he's like getting mad at his manager. But like, I mean, I guess the thing is you don't want to be on like national television in China and talking about Chinese censorship.
I'd be surprised if they'd even play it.
Well, I mean, like these companies like broadcast. I mean, I imagine they would just cut the footage maybe, but I think they were being interviewed by like an international news web.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, yeah, you don't want to get you don't want to be in the crosshairs of the Chinese government.
Yeah, get on the naughty list. So everybody's like, well, people. Yeah, we won't get into that. That's too much. That's too big of a story. But so that was my I guess interesting but sad story that it's becoming. China is becoming, at least the government's becoming increasingly homophobic for absolutely no reason.
They could just be like, what is it, Iran, where like they just say homosexuals don't exist.
Yeah, just pretend.
But so you can be trans, but you can't be homosexual.
What?
Yeah, it's a serious thing. And so people who are found gay basically have the option of either getting the death penalty or transitioning.
Wow.
Because they were trans. See, it's not that you're a man who likes men. It's that you're secretly a woman and you
were born a woman in a man's body, so you can't.
Yes.
Yeah, that's just like a.
It's
a stupid hack.
Yeah, I think it's Iran. I'm not sure. It's definitely some Middle Eastern country.
Yeah, of course. Okay, well, you ready to move on to the construction roundup?
All right. Yeah, let's talk about what's happening in the wonderful world that is the city of Columbus.
Yeah, that's what we do every week, Trevor.
That was all way too verbose.
Yeah. Okay. So the first story I have is so we've covered this before, but the International Brotherhood of Electric Workers site in Victorian Village. Previously, they were going to put a 10-story mixed-use development there, and now they're raising it to 14. So we're looking at I'm going to quote Columbus Underground here, or at least paraphrase. So looking at 33,000 square feet of office space, 210 apartments, a disgusting 400 space parking garage, and 5 to 8,000 square feet of retail space.
Wow! Every time we bring up this story, it just gets 4 stories higher.
Yeah, it's just like the wall, like Trump's wall. We'll make it 10 stories higher. Okay.
I won't be surprised if we're like, update now 18 stories.
Yeah.
So Shake Shack is moving to Columbus. The more important thing is that nobody was supposed to really know that Shake Shack was moving to Columbus. So this like architect guy who works for this architecture company in Columbus just like posted this on Facebook, and then deleted it. And I guess like this wasn't supposed to be known. Nobody was supposed to know yet that Shake Shack was coming to Columbus. So everyone listening to Columbus this week or goes on Reddit, you're all in the secret loop about the Shake Shack in Columbus. It's all spoiled.
Yeah.
I hope
it'd be funny if they like just never build it and they're always like casually leak that it's coming, and then
I hope this guy doesn't lose his job or anything over this. It does suck.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he shouldn't be on Facebook, so there's that.
Like in general,
yeah.
Like
so that's why they ban Facebook at work, is because people do dumb stuff like that.
As opposed to Reddit, nobody does dumb things on Reddit.
Not as many people, I would think.
Huh. I mean, maybe just because less people have or use it.
Yeah.
So what else do we have for construction?
So there's a 30. Okay, so first of all, I'm kind of surprised that this even exists, but apparently there's like 37 acres, just like sitting around in Worthington.
That's not that surprising.
How's that not surprising?
Have you looked at a map?
Dude, it's like right next to High Street in Worthington. So it's at High Street, and man, I can't see what this other street is.
North of 161?
It's like near High Street and Worthington, Galena Road, and a couple other roads. Anyway, it apparently used to be the site. It's the former site of the Worthington United Methodist Church, like Children's Hospital, not church. Sorry, United Methodist Children's Home Hospital, or something. I think it was a hospital. United Methodist Children's Home. Maybe it wasn't. So, but apparently, yeah. So anyway, apparently it's 37 acres, and there's some interest in like buying the site and turning it into like a mixed use, blah blah blah. So, on one hand, like I kind of like that because you like to see development. On the other hand, if they're going to do that, I think they should try to as much as they can, because it looks like, at least from the image, it's like you could, it's like land, right? It's like it's not like some burn up facility or something like that.
Right.
So what I'd like to see if they're going to do this is try to maintain some of the like the foliage, more or less, like not hack down all the trees. So like add mixed use whatever you want, but don't just put like suburb houses there. And don't just put up like these giant generic apartment buildings in like there. Just like try to make everything blend in with nature. That'd be nice.
I mean, it's Worthington, so they're not gonna throw up like giant apartment blocks, but
oh, they might. You never know.
I guess that's true. You never know.
Yeah.
All right. So is that it for construction?
Nope. I got two more.
Oh.
Yeah. Trevor, you need to get on your game. So
I can't count is all. 3, 5, same number really.
Yeah.
Think about it.
So I'm gonna go in, just to throw you off even more, I'm gonna go in a different order. So the Veterans Memorial Museum that is near complete, next to COSI.
Yeah, the exterior looks done.
Yeah. It made it on architecturaldigest.com's list of most anticipated buildings of 2018.
Oh my god, I love it.
Yes.
I love Architectural Digest.
Yeah, I read it every day.
It's my favorite website.
But it's cool that it's getting noticed. And then and then the other construction story is Brewdog is opening up their first U.S. like pub. Where
yeah.
And if you go and get a Brewdog tattoo, you can get 20% off for life. So we're gonna go do that later today. I like Brewdog, but I'm definitely not getting a stupid tattoo for 20% off.
This is like the worst kind of consumerism, where it's like, okay, like Eric, would you get a McDonald's tattoo for a 20% discount?
You know it.
Ugh.
I like the pictures though, or I like how it looks. So they have so the article that we're listing is from the Dispatch, and I don't have a paywall anymore, which is cool. But the actual like outside of it looks really cool. It's like, I don't know. It's like the exterior is like really black, and then it's got like this really cool blue like Brewdog stuff. And then inside they have this like painting, and it's born in Scotland, made in Columbus. So I don't know. It's kind of cool. I don't like the Brewdog people, but I do like their beer's fine. And
what do you mean the Brewdog people?
Well, people are just like rah Brewdog.
Oh, I see.
Because it's like, I mean, the brews, the beer's good, but it's not like that good. It's not like good enough that. Like, I don't like go. I would never go out of my way to get their beer.
Right. Yeah.
But I would definitely go out of my beer to like get some really good Belgian quads. So
I gotcha.
But it's not bad. I just don't. It's not like that great.
Yeah. I mean, they're kind of a big chain, just not here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it seems like they're like a fine company. I don't have anything against them or anything. I just don't like people who are like, oh my god, like, it's like, oh, I don't know how to encapsulate the people. They're like Subaru driving. people who have dogs riding their mountain bikes and going to go get BrewDog beers and watching the crew
and eating their vegan granola bars.
No, they're not vegans. They're like into burgers and stuff.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, BrewDog's not like a.
Well, no. I thought. Well, yeah. I mean,
I'm actually. So I know he doesn't listen to this, but I described a very specific person. Well, he doesn't have a Subaru, but he has it's a Ford car that looks. It's like I don't know. Maybe it's a Focus, but like. I thought it was a Subaru the first time I met. He's a really nice guy, but I'm like meta talking. You're
getting the Subaru fans angry at us for no reason.
Yeah,
they're gonna burn our house down, man.
Well, I don't care. This is your house, so just don't die.
Why did I say our house? They're gonna burn your house down.
Yeah, and I also don't live here, so.
Well, nobody knows where we record, so it doesn't matter.
Or do they? Okay,
maybe the Subaru drivers
do. Let's move on to Columbus news.
Sure, let's move on. All right, Eric, so what's up first in Columbus news?
So, speaking of the crew, the Columbus City attorney, Zach Klein, has filed a lawsuit not to like, it's not like sue the crew so much as it's stop them from moving. And basically the motion that was filed was they want to pause the 6-month time period that local investors have to like evaluate whether they're going to purchase the team under like the Art Modell, like the law, from when they moved the Browns. Yeah. So we've been talking about this on and off, and I was like, yeah, they're gonna like slow these guys down and just make it miserable if they even want to.
Oh my God, that's the new hashtag.
Yes.
First,
hashtag slow the crew.
Yeah. First there was save the crew, then ship the crew, then sue the crew. Now slow the crew.
Yeah, slow them down. I do like this strategy though. Like, it's either the crew's gonna stay or they're gonna make it as painful as possible for them to leave and then like let them go. But so this, I guess they want to pause the time that it takes to, and it's funny because they have like a legal basis to do this too. But they want to pause
do they?
Yeah, they do, because it's the law, dude. Like, unless they take it all the way up to like the Ohio Supreme Court, it's law in Ohio. So if the stadium receives public funding, you can't just like up and move it. And they receive public funding, and now they're getting what they deserve.
I don't know if I. Well, I don't know if I agree. I mean, does the pause happen now, or like after this resolves?
It would be right now. It's like so the law for if you're like if you have a pro sports team and you get public funding for like your stadium or a tax abatement or whatever, you can't just take the team and move without giving local, like the city, the state, or somebody else who would keep the team here a chance to buy the team. So what this motion does, like if it goes through, is it and they have 6 months to do that, basically. Like you have 6 months to like basically like offer to buy the team or something. So what this does is they want to slow it down like before they even get to that 6 months, to give like investors like more time to do that, basically.
Gotcha.
So they're basically filing an injunction saying, hey, like let's stop, and then eventually like they'll do that 6 months.
This is such an obnoxious. This is such an absurd process.
Yeah, but it's good. Like screw them for that. Like that's what they give. They think that they're just gonna like take. If you think you're just gonna like take the crew out and like be a dickbag or whatever, then the cities and the state, fortunately, it appears that they're doing their job and making sure it's as painful as possible. But it also could result in like the team actually getting sold to investors, because I'm pretty sure here in Columbus, like they have enough people together that would want to put up the money to buy the team. So it's a question of whether Precourt wants to sell him, and if they make it as painful as possible, maybe he'll say screw it.
Maybe.
But it'll screw up with any sort of plan. So like they can't start, like let's say they want to build a new stadium in Austin.
Yeah.
Like he can't start doing any of that because he does like they don't have a timeline anymore. Like they don't know when they're even like if they want to move it. Like
yeah, I mean it's completely waylaid any actual ability to move.
Yeah, basically it's going to bleed them of money and of time and basically things that they value, which is good.
So while we were discussing this, I just live tweeted out on Columbus this week.
What?
First we had hashtag save the crew, then hashtag ship the crew, and hashtag sue the crew. Now we have hashtag slow the crew. I think that's appropriate. That's enough hashtags.
Yeah, I'm gonna retweet that. I can't believe we're doing live tweeting.
It's
while we're recording.
Well, I mean, yeah, I had a free hand, and I can talk and write at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I can too, but it's just like we actually did it.
Are you proud of yourself? You disappointed in yourself?
Yeah.
Where are you on the spectrum?
I'd say in between proud and disappointed. So
so
real
neutral.
reaction.
All right.
Okay.
All right. So what do we have next?
So speaking of stabbing people in the back,
What?
somebody. So I'm telling you, man, the homeless people, it's a problem. So somebody
it.
was literally stabbed in the Short North, stabbed and robbed in the Short North on Tuesday at like 1:55 in the morning by a homeless person.
Maybe they mistake the person for you, and this is just the homeless vendetta playing itself out.
No,
it was a mistake
no.
of. It was mistaken identity. They're like, there's that bastard who keeps.
Yeah.
How do you have so many run-ins with the homeless? I still don't get it.
Dude, we walked out. So when we were walking to the thing. Remember, I'm like pointing out homeless people who look like they. So remember that guy? You know what I'm talking about. That guy was looking right at us like he was gonna bother us.
But he didn't.
Yeah, but maybe who knows why? But he easily could have. And that's what it's like. You like walk down the street and then somebody's like, hey, or so even remember when we got to the convention center and that one homeless guy was like was bugging that guy who walked in front of us.
Sure.
Yeah, like that's what it's like. You just have homeless people bugging people. They need to get the hell out.
Get out of my city.
I don't. Yeah, that's stupid. Like either go to a homeless shelter, help. There's tons of resources to help straighten out your life. Don't bother people. I just don't have any tolerance for it. Like people have a right to not be harassed like while they're walking down the street.
All right. So what you have any other thoughts on the stabbing aside from the homeless are dangerous?
I just wanted to continue to prove my point.
You just wanted to be like, look, I'm right. Fuck the homeless.
No, I'm not. I don't say screw them. I'm saying screw the homeless people who like bother people.
I see. Well, how would you know if somebody was homeless if they didn't look like they were going to bother somebody?
Well, there's no reason they would be up there.
I mean, no. I feel like that's your criteria, though.
Well, okay. So even I don't care what class of person they are, but don't bother people and like panhandle and all that stuff. Like I don't want any of that.
It's worse in like New York City because like a lot of people who bother you aren't homeless. Like
Yeah.
I had multiple people trying to trying to get me to buy their mixtape.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding.
Yeah. At least they're like trying to sell you something. Like as annoying as that is, at least there's
a commercial transaction that makes it okay.
It makes it somewhat better versus getting stabbed.
Well, I don't think most homeless people are out stabbing folks.
Who knows? They could be. All right, so let's move on. There is so Trevor, I've been saying this for a million years now. Like we need like a streetcar that just goes up and down like High Street, blah blah blah. Well, apparently we're getting a trolley service.
Trolley as a service?
Yeah, trolley as a service.
TAS.
Yeah. It's but guess what it is? Spoiler alert, it's a bus. And they're painting it green. So they're just gonna run they're calling it a trolley and they're running a green bus up and down the Short North. So it's like yet another thing that they're doing with that. And it's like the C bus is fine, except the smelly homeless people get on there and bother people and try to fight people. But aside from that, like just get on the C bus. And then there's that hopper cart thing too. And there's Uber and Lyft. And there's walking and biking. And then there's actually taking your car. And it's like they're trying to do everything they can to avoid just doing what they should do, which is just put a damn streetcar straight down through.
You are so into rails, all the rails.
Yeah, I like Ruby on rails. I like trolleys on rails.
You like heavy rail, light rail,
Yeah,
minor rail,
medium rail.
Anyway, so you're mad. You're mad that a bus exists and it's not an actual trolley.
I think
you're mad that we don't live in San Francisco.
It's just dumb because it's like, what's the point of that?
How much use do those actually get in SF?
The trolleys? When I was there, I saw people riding them. I think.
I feel like they're mostly a tourist thing.
Well, I think they do get a lot of tourists, but it's actually also pretty convenient because. So have you been to San Francisco?
Yeah.
So you have?
No, actually. I don't know why I said yes. Brain confused for a second.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I was thinking about Columbus for a second, and then I'm like,
that's weird. Yeah. So they, it's pretty hilly.
Yeah.
So the trolleys go up the hills, which sometimes is, like if you're going a long way, it's pretty convenient.
Gotcha.
So.
Yeah, no, some of the angles on those roads are crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, they're very, 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 they can be
steep.
very, very steep. Yeah. And it's like walking up, I mean, you're literally just like walking up a hill.
Yeah.
So.
So next up, we have good news, like unequivocal good news coming from Columbus PD.
Wow, that's a surprise.
So, starting June 1st, you will be able to text the police department
while you're driving.
911, but yeah, you could do it while driving, I guess.
I wonder if you'd get a ticket if you had to text 911 because what if somebody hijacked your car and you're just like.
What?
Or like somebody's holding a gun to your head in the car and you like text 911 while they're not paying attention. You're like, hey, like I got like hijacked, and you're like driving the car at the same time, but they give you a ticket.
This is absurd. I mean, I think you just go to the judge, and the judge is like,
no, they'd probably give you a ticket.
I don't think so. Well, I mean, even if they give you a ticket, I think you can fight it pretty easily in that case. You were coerced into committing a crime.
Yeah.
That's actual coercion.
Yeah, I'd give him a ticket anyway, just for the hell of it. Cause chaos, watch the world burn.
This is why Eric can never be an officer of the law.
Yeah, I also couldn't be an officer because I don't care if people are like smoking weed and stuff, so.
Yeah.
I guess, I mean, I would care if they were driving and doing it. But.
I mean, I think you have some discretion. Like, you don't I don't think you're legally required to stop anyone.
Yeah.
You might get fired, but like, I don't think there's any actual onus.
Yeah, they do have discretion. Like, typically they'll, like, sometimes they'll take it, like, confiscate it or whatever, and then let people go sometimes. I know that's happened before, so.
But anyways, so the big push for this actually comes from a deaf association, which argues rightfully that 911 isn't a great service for the deaf community.
Yeah.
And so because they either have to use like video chat and have somebody who's able to interpret sign language, or which isn't always an option, right? Because your phone, I mean, it's not always an option. So I think this is a good thing, right? Being able to SMS 911.
Yeah, I agree. I think overall it's pretty good to because a lot of people, especially in the technology community, don't really think about accessibility, and this, even like when you're designing like systems like this, like like the 911 system, like all the call route, all the entire system itself, accessibility isn't the first thing they thought of when it was designed. So I think it's a good thing that they're doing that.
The only caveat I can see is that it does lower the barrier of entry to mess with the system, though. Like if you want to like prank 911, you could use like a Google phone number and then just like shoot off SMSs.
Yeah. Hopefully people won't be jerks and do that though, but you're right, they could.
Yeah, I mean, well, you can currently do the same thing basically, right? There's nothing stopping you. You could buy a $20 burner phone and mess with the police.
Yeah, just call and do stuff.
Yeah.
Hopefully people don't do that though.
Yeah, I mean some will, but I think most human beings are reasonable people. But it does lower it lowers the barrier.
The barrier to chaos.
Yeah, a little bit, just a small amount.
Yeah.
All right. So what's next?
All right. So this one is near and dear to my heart. The state, the Ohio, the House passed a bill allowing dogs on restaurant patios. So, on one hand, I think businesses should let people do that. On the other hand, leave your dog at home, because it's really annoying. Like if you go somewhere and there's just like because like people, the problem is the owners. It's not the dogs, but people just like left their dogs, like they think like it gives people carte blanche to just like, oh, I'm just gonna tie my dog up here and just let it bother whoever else wants to sit outside. And what if you have a dog allergy or you're like scared of dogs or something, right? So it bugs me that dog owners suck.
This
for the most part. So.
This conversation sponsored by our Dog Free.
I do like that subreddit.
Oh my god,
it's really funny.
If you read the comments, all of those people are insane.
Yeah.
Like they're like crazy people.
Yeah, they are. I like dogs. Like I grew up with dogs, but I find myself pretty annoyed by people's dogs. So like I think I've mentioned this in the podcast once, but like my own condo building, when I walked out, some guy was like was walking his dog outside to like go to the bathroom, and as soon as you open the door, like right there, he just let his dog like piss everywhere, right there where people walk. Like, what the hell are you thinking? So, it's not the dog's fault, right? But the problem is the owner. So you just have crappy dog owners, and they do stuff like that. So, yeah, not a fan.
Well, I mean, I think if they're actually destroying or damaging people's property, like you can call the. I mean,
but
you can make someone's life very unpleasant if they're not taking the rest of society into account. Most people just don't want to do that.
That's to me, like these like letting dogs on like patios and stuff. That's pretty much that. Like that's because you have no consideration for whether somebody wants to sit around your stinky dog, or have the dog like bark or bother you, or like try to jump on you or whatever. And what about people with dog allergies, or people who are afraid of dogs? Like there are people who are like seriously scared of dogs because they've been like bit by a dog or something.
I used to be super scared of dogs because like I got this scar on my face. I mean, I think I'm doing the podcast thing where I'm showing something physical again, but like I got a big scar on my face because I had to have plastic surgery done because a pit bull ripped my face off when I was 5.
Yeah.
but I'm not scared of them anymore. But I do think that that allergies are a problem. But I think it's ultimately the business owner's problem. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a bunch of dogs running around at your location, I don't want to be there.
Yeah, and fortunately, Brewdog doesn't have. It didn't appear they have a patio, because I could definitely see that being a place where all the dog owners congregate and like talk about their dog stuff. I told you
it's
that
got dog in the name,
dude. I told you that one story about when I was at a bar one time. I was there with like 3 or 4 other people, and this guy was like walking around inside the bar with his dog.
Wasn't I there?
I don't know. Were you there?
Yeah,
you might have been. But do you remember that? And then, like, he's like, "Oh, my dog's like so afraid of people. Like, it doesn't really like being around like here in the bar and stuff." And it's like, well, why don't you take your dog home instead of abusing it?
Is this the time like when we left and walked north on High, and you were just like pissed the whole time, fuming about this guy and his dog?
Yeah.
I didn't care that much,
because he was using the dog to try to hit on chicks, which is like super pathetic. And then the second thing was because you know the reaction, right? Like you go to the bar and you bring your dog there, and then you like people are like, "Oh, cute puppy," blah blah blah, and that's like how you strike up a conversation, because you're not interesting at all and you have no other way to do that.
Yeah.
So like me, like if I go to a bar to like if I wanted to talk to girls and I didn't have a girlfriend, I would like say I have like witty remarks and like I have great things to say instead of like, "Here's my dog. Oh, it's so cute."
Hey, have you heard about the construction in Columbus this week?
I could talk about that, but the worst thing though was that he consciously knows. He says the dog is scared of people and doesn't like being here in this bar. It's like, so you're an asshole and you have your dog here like because you're trying to pick up chicks. Like, dude, take your dog home if it doesn't like being in the bar and it doesn't like people. That's abusive. So that really made me mad, because not only was that guy pathetic, he was also like, as far as I'm concerned, like being pretty mean to his dog.
But he gets to be vulnerable by extension through the dog,
Yeah.
Eric. You don't get it.
Yeah. And then other people at the table, like, they couldn't understand that. And I'm like, get this dude away from here. So.
Yeah, I mean, oh yeah, you got in an argument with somebody over that.
Yeah.
Like at the table. That's right.
Yeah. That guy moved though.
I like how that's your big takeaway. He's gone. So I'm the real winner here in Columbus, because I'm the person who stayed.
Oh, I was just mentioning that, but he was also just wrong. So.
Oh, I see.
All right, what's next? I think we have some legislative stuff coming up. You wanna kick it off?
As always, we're always making laws here now in the great state of Ohio.
I think I can make great laws.
Well, you're not a legislator, so I don't think you can. Like you
I
literally can't though.
I mean, I could.
So theoretically, you could, but literally you can't.
The first law I'd make is no dog douchebags.
No dogs allowed. No dogs.
I like dogs. I just think most people have really poorly behaved dogs.
You have to get a license to be able to be a good. You have to show you're a good enough person to own a dog.
Okay, here's the thing. I think for every restriction they place on like guns, so like you have to take a class and all this stuff. I think every single time they do something like that, they should do an equivalent thing to dog owners. So like, you should have to get a license to like have your dog in public. You should have to go through a mandatory like training class for your dog and all this stuff.
Dude, I think the people who like dogs and the people who like guns are like as a Venn diagram, the circles almost completely overlap.
Yeah, but I just want to ruin that very specific group of people.
Well, how about you? Okay, do it to cats then. If you really want to.
No, because cats are fine. Like, I don't have to deal with somebody's cat unless I go to their house, and that's my problem. Nobody takes their cat around outside. Although they do have like some of the bookstores and stuff like have cats there, just like randomly running around.
Well, there's a good reason for that in bookstores.
Yeah, they catch mice and stuff.
Well, yeah, because
mice they look cool.
Mice are super destructive for books.
Yeah,
a lot of pests are, and cats deal with them all.
Yeah, cats are pretty great.
Yeah, I agree. Cats and dogs are both pretty good animals. I wouldn't like, if given the choice, delete either of them, even though I'm allergic to both.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I like them, so.
You're not allergic to either, so you don't have as much.
I don't have to bear the burden.
Yeah, you don't have as much skin in this game.
Jeez.
All right, so next up, I wanted to go over a few of the line items, I guess, in the gun legislation bills that are floating through the Ohio State House. You ready?
All right. Yeah.
All right. So this is coming from the Dispatch. And there's a little editorial thing I want to call out, because they start this article with in a basement room, some GOP legislators questioned the constitutionality of a bill that would implement Governor John Kasich's gun policy recommendations.
Okay.
Just why was like the in a basement room necessary?
Yeah, I just gotta editorialize it for the clicks.
I just picture it's like in a basement room filled with smoke.
Yeah.
The wizened ancient GOP legislators plot their next move.
Yeah.
So, anyways, so the big points here are there's a review of stand your ground legislation in Ohio, which took criticism from the State Highway Patrol for also reducing criminal penalties for violating concealed carry laws. So basically, the police are like are against us, I guess, adding stand your ground legislation because the legislation also would reduce the penalties. Yeah. So they're against the reduction of penalties for people caught concealed carrying when they don't have a license to do so.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of nonsense.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, the police are, I mean, they're going to police, right? Like they don't want citizens being able to defend themselves as much. They don't want people like...
Yeah, honestly, I bet most police would be happier if people didn't have guns. I mean, if nobody had guns, except them.
And here's what they would say. They would say, well, you know, I never know when I pull somebody over if they're going to like blast me or something. And it's like, well, okay, don't be a police officer then. Like, just because like you feel fear for your safety doesn't mean that like you get to like dictate the rights of other people. So that's what I say. Like, I don't have any. I'll never have sympathy for like police officers when they're like that. And they're like, oh, but like, you know, like I don't want to get shot or it's like the police officers who like, you know, what was it, like they don't have a responsibility, like they don't have actual responsibility, like put their life in danger in order to...
no, they have no actual obligation to protect you.
Yeah, so it's stuff like that, and I just say, well, don't be a police officer then, and then, you know, carry on your merry way.
So just don't have that job.
Yeah,
I mean, the problem is we don't have enough police as far as like hiring goes.
Yeah,
it seems like every department always has shortfalls for whatever reason. It's just it's not a job that people want to do, and it's also not a job where the people who should be doing it, I think, a lot of times end up in that job.
Yeah, which is worrisome, but...
All right. A Senate committee passed a bill allowing off-duty police officers to carry handguns in places that prohibit concealed carry.
Yeah, not a fan of that.
Yeah, I don't like this.
So, but what I will say is that, okay, if you want to do that, then that means a police officer is, if something happens, then they're automatically on duty. Like, they can't just be like, not my problem.
That's not going to happen. This is 100% not going to happen.
Right, I know, but I don't like the hypocrisy.
Yeah, this is bullshit favoritism given to the police because they're police.
Yeah.
So they get to walk around with guns whenever they want.
Yeah, and which is stupid. They shouldn't. I mean, I don't care what people say. Oh, well, they're like very well trained and blah blah blah. And yeah, they're trained better in general than your average Joe off the street or whatever.
So here's something that'll surprise you. Police officers on average commit more crimes than concealed carry holders.
I don't know. I guess I'm kind of surprised by that.
I mean, the crime rate of concealed carry holders is super low. It's like a fifth of the general population, and police commit crimes, I think, about as third as the general population does.
Huh.
But that's still they're committing almost twice as many crimes as concealed carry holders.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, part of it is you can commit like a misdemeanor as a police officer and potentially still keep your job, right?
Oh, you would. Yeah, you would definitely keep your job.
It's very hard to commit a crime of any sort and then be given a license next time around, next 5 years, you know, because you have to renew your license.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's not, for me at least, not as much to say about that because like I completely disagree with the police officers like being treated specially for that.
Yeah. What else? The House committee approved a bill that would create a $10 million school safety fund.
Oh yeah, this made me so mad. Go ahead.
So anyway, I mean, do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, because it's freaking dumb. So all they instead of...
Do you want to get a little closer to the mic?
Yeah, instead of getting to like the root problem, like getting to the root causes of these problems, they're just like, well, we're just gonna put more police officers in the school and arm the teachers and stuff, and it's like that's just as bad as Democrats who are like, well, we need to get rid of all guns. It's like both sides are just treating the symptoms of the disease and not the actual disease itself, which is it's mental health education, it's poverty, and it's having like awful teachers, more or less. But I think the teachers should be paid instead of paying that. I think that like that's the kind of stuff that you need to pay teachers more in order to attract more high quality people into those jobs, or at least give them the funding and resources they need to like teach and like do stuff. Like teachers should never have to go buy like school equipment on their own, but they do. Like every teacher has to do that. That's nonsense.
Do you think good teachers fix the problem of school shootings?
Not necessarily.
Because I mean, that's the problem they're trying to solve here.
Yeah,
right?
but this won't solve that problem because
I agree.
Like we saw in Florida, the stupid security guards will just be jerks and run away.
Yeah.
So
I don't think your solution like solves the problem they're trying to solve either.
Well, I'm just saying if they're going to spend that $10 million, I think it's more. It's even. It would do the same amount of work as in terms of effectiveness, but then you could also just give that money to the teachers instead. And like you would like you don't. I say you don't get results either way. So I'd rather just like give the money to the teachers instead of hiring a mall cop for the schools.
Well, I mean the state's solution obviously is going to be to spend the money elsewhere, right?
Yeah, I'm just saying if they were going to spend that money, it's like we'll just give it to the teachers.
Well, that's an if that's not going to happen.
I know. I have all these it's my problem, man. I have all these hypotheticals of like, if we just did the right thing.
You're basically a utopian, and that just doesn't. I mean, it doesn't work. That's reality. It doesn't jive with reality, right? If like,
well, I mean, I'm not like blind to, like, I'm just saying, well, this is the right thing to do. And I know they're not doing that, and that's stupid. And I just criticize them being stupid.
The man hailed as the hero in the Chardon High School shooting in 2012 that left 3 students dead, 1 paralyzed, and 2 wounded. Today, told legislators that he disagrees with those who want to arm teachers.
Yeah.
Frank Hall, a high school coach and football study hall monitor, charged the shooter after the student had fired at him. He chased the youth into the building in nearby woods. I didn't think I could have safely shot him if I was armed, Hall told a House committee, testifying in favor of a bill that would create new qualifications for school resource officers, plus a $10 million school safety grant.
Yeah. So another thing I think they should do is like if they're going to put police officers like in the schools, I think they should be more like plainclothes instead of like some oppressive like police officer standing there wearing their freaking sunglasses and like their black police officer uniform, because I think it also it sets a poor mood of the school.
I agree. And this is, I mean, we talked about this earlier as far as like restaurants are concerned, but like there's no reason to have somebody, you know, with like a full-sized handgun just sticking out. Like that intimidates people, right? The outfit intimidates people.
Yeah, and it sets up an us versus them. It sets up this is the state, and you know it basically sets up a mindset of like oppression and like authority that doesn't need to exist.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it basically makes schools feel like prison. Yeah. So do you wanna talk about the budget?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's move on to something we can criticize even more probably. So
how dare we?
No, it's not too bad. So this actually came out on April 4th. But I don't think we talked about it, so I'm gonna start talking about it now.
All right, so this is the line items of the budget.
Yeah, so it's the 2018 capital improvements budget. It's around $1 billion, $720 million in new funding, and $300 million in carryover dollars. So I'm quoting the Columbus.gov website here. It includes a record amount of funding for street repaving. Thanks. $40 million. Water and sewer improvements make up 55%, $557 million of the budget. All right, so here, so Columbus, the Columbus.gov website listed out, they said some additional highlights, so line items as far as we're concerned. So we're going to go through them line by line really quick. Well, maybe not quickly, we'll see, and I guess discuss them. So the first one is $20 million for a new Linden Community Recreation Center. Sounds good to me. I don't know about the price, but I mean, if it's huge and it's nice, then that's cool.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of money.
Yeah. $4 million in new sidewalks citywide. Hell yeah. They should make it like $400 billion for new sidewalks.
Yeah. You know what's better than sidewalks?
Nothing.
Bike lanes.
Bike lanes are pretty great. $5 million in streetlights citywide, including projects in Milo Grogan, Old Town East, and the Parsons Underpass. $2.5 million for the restoration of the Davis Center and $1 million for the Family Adventure Center, both in Franklin Park. $5 million for the Affordable Housing Alliance to leverage additional funding to support affordable housing in Columbus. This is an interesting one here, Trevor. $480,000 for 8 new construction homes on the south side that will be sold to market rate buyers, and $142,500 for 15 rental homes in the Healthy Rental Homes project. So they're going to like build houses and then sell them at market rate.
Why?
I'm for our listeners, I'm shrugging right now. So this is the sound of me shrugging.
Shrug.
Okay, this one I'm very curious about. $1 million for a gunfire detection system as part of the comprehensive neighborhood safety strategy. So what is this, like a freaking war zone?
I mean, I don't. Yeah, what's the purpose?
So it'll detect gunfire. And then
well, I get that.
The cops will show up.
I see.
Probably.
But I feel like the cops already show up anytime there's gunfire. We live in a city of millions of people. Like, I've never heard gunfire. I mean, not that I hear gunfire often, but I've never heard gunfire and the police not show up in Columbus. Like, out in rural areas, like, hear gunfire all the time and then nothing happens, right?
Yeah.
Because usually it's people shooting animals. Like, that's the reality, right? Somebody outside city limits has a raccoon in their attic or something.
Yeah. Which I'm also against, but
raccoons in people's attics.
Well, I'm like against that, I guess, but I'm also against killing them because raccoons.
Raccoons are evil little monsters. No,
like they don't deserve to die.
Yeah, they do.
They don't get to decide what they are.
Well, you could say the same about like criminals in the U.S.
Yeah, kind of.
So you're gonna say like we shouldn't jail people? Like there's no easy way to get like a raccoon out of like.
No, you just hire somebody who's professional and let them deal with it.
That's not always an option if you live out in the boonies.
Oh, it's definitely an option. Yeah. Or you just have a new raccoon living there then, I guess. So
no, they're dangerous, man. They carry a lot of them carry rabies.
Yeah, well, you just get rabies too, I guess. So no, I'm just kidding. All right, $3 million for land acquisition and design of police substation number 8 in Franklinton. $7 million to begin construction of fire station number 16 in Linden, and $7.5 million for fire apparatus such as medics, platform ladders, and engines. And the quote from the City Council President Shannon Hardin was, "This new capital investment plan is critical to upgrading our neighborhood infrastructure. We appreciate the detailed work done by the administration to consider long-term challenges in every area from utilities to parks, safety to sidewalks. We look forward to talking to residents at our neighborhood hearings about how we are helping put shovels in the ground, creating jobs, and being responsive to their needs." I actually really liked what he said. I think that's a good idea because things need to get built. People need jobs. It's like it's a win-win for me. As far as I'm concerned, I don't know about this gunfire thing, but the rest of this seemed pretty.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think both of us are surprisingly, compared to the rest of the country, very pro infrastructure and maintaining it.
Yeah, like you got to take care of the stuff you buy and you build. It's just stupid not to, or they just don't build it.
Yeah, I don't know why people are so. People are just so turned off by infrastructure spending. Yeah, and if you don't take care of your stuff, your country falls apart.
Yeah. I don't understand why that's so so difficult for people, but
I mean, I think it's the big amounts of money, and they're like, oh, but look, with $500 million, do you know what we could buy, Eric? We could have a skyscraper.
We could buy a lot of missiles to launch at Syria.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
I mean, not really a lot actually. Missiles are expensive.
Yeah, no.
They're like in the millions per.
Yeah. They said. I mean, I guess this is a little bit off topic, but the what's it called? So the launches they just did, or the missiles they just launched to Syria to blow up their chemical plants was like a million, $11 million or something like that per missile, or some number like that. Yeah. I thought I'm talking out my ass pretty much, but it was something like that I thought was pretty crazy.
Well, even in the Iraq War days when we were just pumping out missiles, we were spending like $2 million ish per missile, and we were dropping more than a chemical plant's worth of missiles.
Yeah. So I actually downloaded the entire budget, so we can put this in the show notes. But you can actually look at the entire budget up to 20. So it's 2018 through 2023, and they have money allocated in each year for all these different things. And there are 30 pages of stuff that they're spending money on, which is kind of cool. So we just touched on the highlights as they saw them, but there's also other stuff. Like I just saw. $1.5 million for Franklinton or Franklin Park improvements.
Isn't it absurd that they think that the gun thing is like a highlight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, ready to move on?
Sure. I bet it was political point scoring for somebody.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, everything's political, right? Everybody's constantly trying to impress somebody.
Yeah, which is sad because we should just be working together to make a better place. But instead, All
right. Well, you ready to move on to the feature?
Let's do it.
All right, Eric, you ready to move on to the feature?
Yeah, let's do it. This is going to be a pretty big, interesting topic, I think. So
okay, so. So a nonprofit's $300 hepatitis C cure. They shouldn't say cure. They should really say treatment. I think
it's more like it's a management.
Well, or treatment. Treatment's probably the best word. Yeah. The $300 hepatitis treatment is effective as a $84,000 for-profit alternative.
Jeez, yeah.
So you and I have talked about this a little bit prior to the show, but just to
we had a big argument like 6 months ago or something.
Well, about pharma stuff.
Yeah.
On the podcast even. But so just to give a little, I guess, headway information for what has happened here is this company did R&D.
A nonprofit company, right?
No. So the for-profit company basically did a bunch of R&D, produced this drug, and then based on how the drug works and the pieces of it, the nonprofit was able to piece together a much cheaper solution using a similar active ingredient, right?
Okay.
So like the active agent is the same. I guess some of the other parts of the drug are not the same, and so like you might say the quality is a little lower, but it's also more than an order of magnitude cheaper.
It's like 100 orders or 10 orders. Well,
more like
30.
Yeah, two orders of magnitude.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring this up and sort of discuss, I guess, an evolution of my views as far as drugs like this are concerned.
Yeah.
Especially in light of Bernie Sanders' opinion on how he thinks drug treatment should work.
Yeah. So what's his opinion?
Okay.
Yeah. That off the top of your head.
Yeah. So breakdown of how Bernie Sanders wants to see drug R&D funded. Basically, the government would be the sole payer in the U.S. of people doing drug R&D. Okay. So if you're doing drug R&D, you're getting your money from the government.
Okay.
Now you have to demonstrate to the government that you're actually moving forward in your research, just like any other government project.
Yeah, so
right?
Kind of like if you were getting scientific funding, like from the National Science Foundation or whatever.
But for drugs, and so all drugs should be funded that way, and only that way, and then you sell the drugs basically at cost.
Okay.
So where do you stand on that? I assume, since we've talked about it before, I assume you're pro.
Yeah. So I do like the idea. So, all right. So in the pharmaceutical industry, what we talked about before was they spend a lot of money on R&D to develop new drugs, and they need to find a way to recoup those costs, right?
All right. I guess we should really hit on the fact that the reason we're talking about this is because the way they recoup the cost is you charge somebody, $80,000 for a drug that costs $30 to manufacture or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. And the reason for that is because your R&D costs are so high.
Yeah.
But the whole business model is you are willing to pay this insane amount of R&D to solve this very minute problem because the people who you're solving this problem for are going to have to, because otherwise they die.
Right.
They're going to have to pay an insane amount of money for this.
Yeah, or they're going to be inclined to do so.
And it's just not a very moral business model for anyone involved.
Yeah. Well, I do say it depends on your views, your ethical views. So I do understand, and I come from, so if our libertarian type listeners are listening, so keep in mind, like I grew up as libertarian. I think it's still pretty. I'm more like left libertarian now, but like I understand the view that like, okay, like let drug companies do it, and then if people can't afford the treatment, then like you shouldn't, you can't force drug companies to do blah 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 and stuff. So like I understand like that point of view, and like I'm not a big fan of like forcing businesses to do certain things or whatever. But and the thing is, in a capitalist society, I think we need to find a way to reduce market failures, and I think this is a market failure. I'm very pro markets, right? Because I think they solve they solve problems that certainly government can't solve, and they pretty much make our lives the best. We have the best lives we could possibly have had. Like we have great lives, right? Like we're able to record this podcast, and we're sitting here on these like freaking wonder machines as far as I'm concerned, especially for the cost, right? And those are like examples of market successes, aside from like the Facebook addiction stuff. Like I think those are market failures too. But the pharmaceutical industry, I think it's reached a point where it's kind of like a market failure, because you have to so there's all the costs with regulation and getting the drugs actually approved. Then there's also the actual research and development costs. And not all the drugs that they spend time developing are promising, right? Like they do have some failures, like they don't pass regulation, if you will. So I find the idea of having the government. So we do pretty well science wise, right? Like science funding works pretty well. So I like the idea of letting people basically get money to do research to solve like a problem with, to basically like solve a problem, because like you'll get some inspired researcher somewhere like, I don't know, Harvard or whatever, and they can come up with an actual solution to some very nuanced drug, or some nuanced disease that a drug manufacturer has like absolutely no interest in ever making a drug for, right? So I find that idea appealing. I'm a little concerned about the selling it at cost, but I'm also concerned about like what's the ceiling, like a ceiling for the cost too. Yeah. So
I think there are a lot of problems to unpack in the entire. There's many failures in the entire chain, from like R&D all the way up to you have the drug, right?
Yeah.
One of those problems is the fact that prices are opaque, more or less, right? So you can't have a free and fair market when you don't know the price of the drugs, right?
Yeah.
And that works for services in general. Medicine has a huge problem of insurance companies have inserted themselves into the middle of the process and completely obfuscated and ruined everything.
Yeah.
Like the way, I don't know if you know this, but the way insurance typically works is the rate you pay uninsured is absurdly high, and it's never ever anywhere close to what the insurance company pays.
Yeah.
So and the reason for that is because the insurance companies demand it that way, right? So they say that so basically hospitals will negotiate with insurance companies to the insurance company wants a low price, right?
Yeah. The hospitals want as much money as they can get.
Yeah, and so what actually happened, and also the insurance companies want to make sure they're getting the lowest price at the hospital. So no employee so if you have an employee discount at a hospital, insurance companies always will mandate that they get that same price.
Yeah.
So employee discounts basically don't exist.
Yeah.
And so the other end result of that is I guess medical institutions, hospitals, whatever, they will always set the price of their pharmaceuticals, the price of services, everything, always very, very high.
That's why you hear about $500 syringes and stuff.
Yeah. So they set the prices super high, and then the insurance company gets like a 93% discount or whatever.
Yeah.
And so now you're paying about right, but the uninsured people, they have to pay out of pocket. They have to pay that full price because that's basically what the insurance company negotiated.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is nonsense.
Yeah, it's a giant charade. And so it's funny. I was going to mention. This is actually a bad thing, but I had to take my cat to the ER on Sunday because she was having trouble urinating, and so I took her to OSU, right?
Sure.
Because I don't know if you know this, but OSU, the vet school, is like one of the top 5 in the country.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, which is pretty great. So I felt good taking her to like their hospital, but when I went there, they were like, okay, you have to give us $300, and it's like $150 for the emergency intake, and then the other $150 is like a deposit for treatment, which it's fine. I don't, I would easily pay a lot of money to like keep her alive, right? But when I left, guess what I got? An itemized bill of exactly what everything cost, and it was all like completely like, so there was like the exam, it was like $70 or something. I think stuff like that's very reasonable. At a hospital, you will never get any sort of bill like that with like reason. Like they were like, oh, it was like $3 for like this to like give her this medicine or something like that.
Even
$7 for this.
Even my dentist does that.
Yeah, but
she's like an independent dentist who doesn't. Well, she didn't take my insurance actually.
Yeah, but whatever. But the thing is like when you actually go to like a hospital or something, those prices are completely out of whack, and there is absolutely it's a complete market failure. The consumer has no idea what the actual quality is. They have no idea what they're actually like, what the actual costs of things are, or like what the stated, like the hospital could just say, here's the stated price of these things or whatever. But they can't even do that.
I think the big problem is insurance companies have inserted themselves in the middle, and they've grown a market for themselves by hiding information away from people.
Yeah.
And
they're rent seekers
and manipulating the market, right? Because they don't actually provide. Okay, so I won't say they don't provide any service, but the only actual service they should provide is risk mitigation.
Yeah.
And currently they're sitting. I mean, they provide way too many services that they themselves have created in order to get themselves more money.
Yeah. which is it's pretty much the definition of rent seeking.
Right. They've overcomplicated the system to their benefit.
Yeah. So that's, when we talked last time, that's one of the reasons I'm in favor of like universal health care here in the country, is because I think that market failure is a worse alternative to just having like the government run the healthcare. But to go back, I guess maybe to circle back to like the idea of like it's basically distributing the research, like the funding for research for new drugs. I like that idea. I don't know. The only thing I don't know about is like how do you like you don't want people to make insane profits off that, because then you get back to the same problem you had before. But I don't like the idea of like selling it at cost. Is like you have to find like some way to have like some profit in there, or like some other like tiny, like it doesn't, maybe you can sell it for like 10% above cost or something, just something so you can like you can recoup, like, I mean, you're gonna get your, I guess like if you're selling at cost, like you're selling it for what your costs were, but you gotta have a little bit more incentive. So I would say like maybe 10% above cost or something would be I think would be pretty reasonable.
I think I have a much stronger objection to Bernie Sanders' whole idea.
Okay.
So first off, it relies on a couple of premises, and I think both premises fail. But I think if even one of these two fail, then it's a bad idea.
Okay.
First premise is that people are going to be willing to add it, and by people I mean elected officials in Congress are going to have to be willing to adequately fund. To adequately
which
fund
is dangerous, because the government has a history of being completely stupid.
Well, yeah, so first off, that's not going to happen, right? Like,
right.
You're not going to see adequate funding, because if you look at the amount of spend that happens, like, do you think the government's willing to drop, $120+ billion on funding pharma?
Yeah.
They're not. It just won't happen.
So maybe you could have it set up so like, okay, so you pay back the research funding at some point.
What do you mean?
So, like, if you, like, let's say you take the research funding, like, let's say it's $1 million, which I know it's a lot more, but
sure.
Let's just a number. So you take $1 million, you develop a drug, you can sell the drug back to recoup that $1 million. You pay back the government basically, like, but it's like a no risk loan. So like if the drug doesn't work out, I guess like the government just eats it. But if there's like if it's a successful drug, you can sell it, and then at some point in time, like you pay the government back like that $1 million or whatever, or maybe you pay it back double or something like that. But you get a risk-free loan to actually develop the drug, and then you add some profit incentive in there. So you get a risk-free loan, you pay the government back, so the government gets the money back if the drug's successful, and you also have the opportunity after you've paid the government back